Hey everyone! Sorry about that. Had a few minutes, had to set some things up. I have music now, so that's pretty fun. So let me know if my voice, I need to turn the music down or off, because this is my first time using it. So hopefully you can hear everything. If not, message. I'll watch the chat, let me know. Hey, let me check, see who's here. Today we have some feedback for Maya and AJ, so... Okay, cool. So I don't see anyone here yet. I don't see Maya or AJ here, but I might go ahead and just wait for just a little bit. Okay, cool. Alright, so if Maya's not here yet, Maya I might need to talk back and forth to, so I might start off with AJ. Yes, for feedback requests, so usually today is just, oh, Maya's here. Today is usually just feedbacks from students that we've already picked beforehand that is in our feedback program. But if you go to our Discord, which I will link, you can put your links, Sing Sketch links or files in the feedback channel, and then if we have time we give extra feedback at the end of each session. So let me get the link for you. Here you go. Here's our Discord. There you go. Daniel's got it. Perfect. Yeah, so you can go there and join our Discord and then put any Sing Sketch links for feedback for any shots that you have in the feedback channel, and then we can take a look at it maybe afterwards. So cool, so Maya is here, so let me go ahead and bring up what she has. Give me 1 second, for some reason everything disappeared. Okay, here we go. So hopefully you guys can see my screen. So Maya, let me just take another look, see what you said. Reference for a new shot, cool. Which parts of each take that you like. The story's about a dad whose two daughters are fighting and he's trying to get one to talk to the other. Okay, cool. So I did some looking at this beforehand to just kind of check it and see what was going on. And let me just play the audio first.
Look, I know you gals have your ups and downs. I get it. But if you could do me this huge favor and just return her phone calls. Come on, do this for me, please. You can yell at her. Just call her back.
So I like this audio a lot. I think it's interesting. I like the end where he goes, just call her back. Like, it's a fun, you have the dynamics of the first part of him being more like chill and calm and control in the situation. Maybe not chill, but control of like how he's talking, and then he kind of gets like frantic at the end, which I like that dynamic way that like he's talking and it has an objective through it. When I'm talking about reference, I'm not going to specifically critique reference because I'm not sure if you're doing the shot with AM right now or someone else and that someone's already bought off on the idea, but the idea isn't clear to me. So I feel like there's no objective right now in this idea. Because you said stories about a dad whose two daughters are fighting, he's trying to get one to talk to the other. Right now, like as you have it, kind of staged out a bit in your ref, right? Like, if we watch this, like the girl is presumably here, one of the kids.
Look, I know you gals have your...
Because like when I first watched this, like I didn't look at what you said, and a lot of times I just click on the links, especially if it's a new shot, and I just try to like watch it without reading any subtext about what it's about and see if I get it, even though it's referenced. So I know like there are some things that are made a lot more clear by situational, the setting and stuff like that, background, whatnot. But when I watched it, I didn't understand what was going on. In fact, the one thing I thought, I was like, oh, okay, he's a therapist. Like this is a therapist talking to a patient of like that's having issues with their sister or their mom or something. That was the first thing I thought. And the issue I have with this, like if he's talking to a dad talking to his two daughters, right now supposedly you only have one daughter there, right? How am I supposed to infer as the audience that there's another that she's having a fight with the other, like a sister, right? There's nothing that tells me that. And then it kind of throws me off when, if I go back to this, when he's saying, oh, you just have to return her phone calls. Well, presumably these are probably young daughter, maybe they're teens, I don't know. But still, like, how do you infer that? That feels like it comes out of left field without an objective, right? Oh, also you added the layout? Okay, let me look at that too. Okay, so it's like more like a teen, he's talking to her. Talking to two of them. Yeah, I mean, like, this would work more in terms of just clarity, because with this, how am I supposed to know what the relationship is? You know, with he's saying to just call her, like, I immediately think of a mother. And this setup doesn't really tell me anything. Like, right now, my issue with the shot right now in terms of idea is there's no objective to what's trying to be resolved, right? How am I supposed to know that they're in a fight? You know, how am I supposed to? Because right now, just like as it is with this kind of layout that you have, he's talking, the way that it feels right now is like they're in opposition, right? Especially with this layout, you know, they're both kind of facing away. They're in opposition, but he's talking about something else that refers to her, but there's nothing in the setup that leads to that, if that makes sense. Hopefully I'm explaining that all right. But so when I was watching this, the thing that I thought about, I was like, it would be a lot more clear to me if you made it a situation where by frame one we could easily recognize what's going on, right? So when I hear this audio, like, I'll play it again.
Look, I know you gals have your ups and downs. I get it. But if you could do me this huge favor and just return her phone calls. Come on, do this for me, please. You can yell at her. Just call her back.
Because, like, another issue that I have is the majority chunk of this audio is about phone calls, right? That's the big thing, is they've had this, you know, the girl and some other girl have had this fight about, you know, someone not returning phone calls or not calling each other enough. But if you have it as like this, like they're sisters, well, presumably they live in the same house, right? Unless somehow the dad has called them both to this meeting place to have a talk about it and they needed the dad to intervene. But if they're young teens, then they should be living in the same house under the same roof, so why would phone calls matter, right? So that's where my mind starts going when I watch this. I have a lot of questions about what's the objective here, and it's just not clear. Like, clarity is super important. And so when I listen to this, I'm like, okay, what would make sense for someone to be upset about phone calls? I'm like, okay, what about the dad's talking to the girl as she's in the car packed up and ready to go to college, and he's talking about the mom to the girl, right? Maybe this shot starts off with the girl in the car. She rolls down her window. You can see the car. Everything's packed in there. It's like, you know, college pennants or, you know, university pennants, whatever. And then the dad comes up and he says, look, I know you girls have your ups and downs. And that would be immediately clear that, okay, she's leaving home. If he looks like a father figure to her and she's a young adult, that's going to immediately infer and read as, oh, he's talking to her about her mom. Like, maybe her and her mom have issues. Like, that is a clear way that I think you could use this audio. Have an objective, too. His objective is, because by doing that and giving that a little bit more of a clear setting, you immediately can have an an objective of he's talking to her because he doesn't want her to ruin the family dynamic between her and her mom. Right? He's trying to play the middleman to help, which is what you had kind of like in yours, but it's just simplifying it and making it a bit more clear. So instead of, it's an immediate inference of, okay, she's packed up, she's ready to go college. Like, that's a very recognizable scene, right? A kid packed up, ready to move out for the first time, go to university, go to college. So I think having that would help a lot. You could even do it, like, the first thing I thought of was, okay, maybe she's actually in her college dorm. And maybe her dad comes to visit. Maybe she's like not on speaking terms with her mom. So you could pretty much have like this same kind of setup, right? Of just her and the dad. But maybe she's sitting on her college dorm bed, right? And he's saying like, you're not calling your mom. Like, basically he's trying to get the objective of like, he's there to try to fix it so that way they can talk as a family and it, you know, the mom won't be upset. That's just kind of my thoughts when I think about this. just because specifically when I listen to this audio, there's so much emphasis on calls and the phone. I don't see how it relates to two sisters that live in the same house. And if they theoretically don't live in the same house, then why did the dad bring them together to talk about it in a house, right? So that's what I'm talking about when I'm just talking about clarity and thinking about a way to simplify this idea and make it clear on the first frame, which is something I struggle with a lot. And I'm trying to, it's hard with my own work. It's so much easier to see other people's stuff and say, oh, this needs to be more clear, or here's how you could make it more clear. But you get very blinded to your own work because you're thinking about it so much and seeing it so much. It's hard to see it from a fresh perspective, which you really need in order to be able to point out clarity issues, right? And I know how hard it is because right now I'm in Kyushu, so I'm trying to do a new shot and I'm trying to come up with stuff, and it's hard to overcomplicate it because also too, like, I find with myself, I think it's so much in my head, and I'm always thinking of like subtext and who are the characters, who are they before the shot, who are they after the shot, you know, what was their story arc years before. Sometimes I go overboard, but when you're thinking that, you already know it in your head, so you think like, oh yeah, everyone knows who these people are, so then you could lose things, right? Sometimes you have to scream at your audience, like, this is the situation, like, without using signage. You have to really show very clear ideas, so that way an audience that has not seen your shot, they do not know anything about your shot or who the characters are, can know within the first, second, the first frame, ideally, within your shot, what's going on. So that's kind of my thoughts. So I can't say that, like, the reference or anything specifically about certain takes what I like, because I would really suggest making a clear setup to have a clear objective to the characters, right? Because right now this just is not reading to me the way I think it could. So if you're really like I said, if you're working on the shot with someone else and someone's already bought off on the idea and you're really set on this, like, an idea you want to do, I think there are ways to do it if you want to go that route. Maybe just doing something to really tie in the phone, and like maybe there's a phone on the ground here. Maybe the dad comes in and like picks up the phone and he's like saying, you got, like, maybe you infer that the girl like threw the phone and she like doesn't want to talk. Maybe she just had a fight with her mom, or maybe she's, her mom's living in a different house and this dad's trying to play like the middleman to try to like peacemaker and like smooth things over, and that would be a little bit more clear than just the dad saying, because I would not go with this at all, like, just in terms of clarity. Like I mentioned, like all my previous ways that I mentioned for all my previous reasons, like, I don't think this is super clear at all and raises more questions than it answers them throughout the arc. So like I said, you could do something like this, but have like a phone on the floor. This is my best impression of a 90s phone. But like maybe the phone is on the floor, right? So maybe he comes in, he picks it up first, and then he's like, well, what does he say? He's like, look, I know your gals have your ups and downs, I get it, but if you just return her phone call, that would give him something to be like, you're not doing this, right? It would kind of clarify a little bit more and set that up from the start of like, communication's an issue. Here's the phone. She's upset about it. Like, that would be a way that I think if you wanted to do this shot, that would add, with this specific idea, it would add a lot more clarity, if that makes sense. So, yes, exactly. Showing my idea phase of a shot, I annoy everyone around me because I will send it to all my friends and be like, thoughts. Like, I won't tell them anything about it. Any necessary information I'll tell them, but I try to just show them a link of like, what do you think of this? Like, what's this idea? And 9 times out of 10, they say, it's trash, Madison. But it helps so much to be able to like bounce things off. And that's just kind of like not talking specifically about the shot, but just talking in general of an animator life. Like, I've found that it's really important not to get attached to your ideas. And I try to make it a thing of like, I will only work on an idea for like 2 days, maybe 3 days max, because I don't want to get attached to it, because then it's really hard to let it go or change your idea if you're already really set on it. And then you show it to someone that you really trust their opinion, they're like, this doesn't make sense to me at all, or I don't like this about it, or oh, it would be way better if you added these things, or oh, it's good, but have you thought about this? And then it's really hard to change your idea because you're already married to it in your head. right? That's something that I struggle a lot with, so I've set limits with myself of like, right now I'm trying to brainstorm for a new shot. And I'll be like, okay, here's my idea. I'll send it out to people I trust their opinion, like, tell me, what do you think about it? Sometimes it's like, that's great, keep going, or here's an idea I had, or people will be like, I don't understand this at all, what are you doing? So it really helps to be able to not be married to that idea. That way you can let it go easily and move on to the next thing. So random little piece of advice, don't learn to be unattached to all of your ideas, because that also feeds into your industry experience of getting notes that wreck your shot from an employer that's, or a director or a lead that is like, okay, well, this whole shot was for nothing now, and you have to delete everything and restart. So not getting married to your work is vital to mental health later on, because you don't take it personally. You're like, oh, well, you weren't married to it anyways. Random little side tangent, but yeah, okay, cool. Yeah, hopefully that makes sense. If you have any other questions, let me know of kind of what I think, but yeah, either way, I would shoot more reference just in terms of...
Look, I know you gals have your ups and downs. I get it. But if you could do me this huge favor and just return her phone calls. Come on, do this for me, please. You can yell at her. Just call her back.
I'm just kind of looking through these just in terms of like acting. If you end up going with this idea.
I know you gals have your ups and downs. I get it. But if you could do me...
Yeah, because see, this one's nice too, but because he has... You know, I'm not sure if this one, like, you have the phone in your hand, right? So he's coming in with it, so my immediate thought is like, oh, it's the dad's phone. Well, why does he have the phone? Did he just get off the call with, like, the supposed other girl that this girl's having altercations with? Like, it doesn't, again, like, clarity. Maybe it's on the floor, and there's a beat of him walking in and looking at her, looking at the phone, and being like, she threw it again. Or like, you know, maybe that's what called him into the room, is he heard a big bang of the girl through the phone or something. Or just something to attach those two things together, that phone, girl, confrontation, or fight, argument, whatever. I think that would help a lot, so.
Look, I know you gals have your ups and downs. I get it. But if you could do me this huge favor and just return her phone calls. Come on, do this for me, please. You can yell at her. Just call her back.
And then just for like an acting thing, kind of like taking out the idea and just talking about acting specifically in a broad sense of what the idea is. When he's like, come on, do this for me. That's the point where you should be very intensely focused. Like, he should be focused intent on who he's talking to, right? Because if he's like, come on, do this for me, like, that's a breaking that feeling. He can be like that up until then, right?
Look,
he could be like, look, and then look at her, you know, it can be on and off, but when he's getting into like, come on, like, do this for me, like, he's pleading at that point, right? You know, comedically or seriously, he's still like, come on, do this for me. He's like, just return her calls. Like, he's pleading to her. It doesn't make sense for him to break that connection. Because, like, I think in this one, you kind of break it.
And just return her phone calls. Come on, do this for me, please. You can yell at her. Just call her back.
Which, like, that's a little bit better, because he's like, just call her back, like, looking at her, but he's like, well, return her calls, please. You know, I would just really hone in on her, because that's what he's like, last ditch effort. Like, he's really trying to connect with her, and she's got her guard up. So I would just keep that in mind as you know, either choose a new idea, go with like kind of the idea I was thinking of, like college girl going to college or something, to make it a little bit more clear. Or if you end up going with this idea and adding a little bit more, finding ways to get more clarity in it and simplify things. Either way, the acting still is going to have to be the same.
I know you gals have your ups and downs. I get it. But if you could do me this...
And I'm not a fan of this idea where, like, they're talking backwards to each other, unless he was... I don't know. It feels very clumsy, and it kind of cuts off both of them, and I'm just not a fan of how this feels dynamically. So I would probably avoid that. Because he's wanting to really start an open conversation with her, and he doesn't, the audio does not sound like he's hesitant or afraid to. He sounds like he's like, okay, look, we need to talk this out. So I would not go into a conversation with someone that I felt very confident that, like, they needed to do this thing, and then like sit backwards, like, look, we need to talk this out. Like, I would very much want to connect with them, make eye contact, be direct with them. So that's just kind of like a thing to think about too going forward, and why like I wouldn't take that take. So
Look, I know you gals have your ups and downs. I get it. But if you could do me this huge favor and just return her phone calls. Come on, do this for me, please. You can yell at her. Just call her back.
yeah, this is nice too. One thing I'd watch out for, it's not a huge concern, but like just be cautious of like whenever you're filming reference and watching it back, watch for how much twinning you do with your gestures, right? It's okay to have a bit, right? Because humans do that. Like, I just did that when I said it. You do twin a bit with gestures, but it's always more interesting to interdisperse gestures that are one-handed, or doing things a little bit more with the body and the head. Head reference is huge. Like, if you can get some good head accents, I find that is like a quantifying mark of a really good shot, is there's a lot of really nice head motion. Because when we talk, like, we do a lot of really interesting things with our head to accent what we're saying, right? Even when I was just doing that, I was probably doing stuff with my head because it's like a way that we kind of accent, and heads can be gestures too, which a lot of people forget about. And it's hard when you're trying to act out a shot and you're not used to acting, and your head kind of locks because you're just thinking about the line, and whenever we're focused on something, your head kind of stills and your whole body kind of stills because you're really thinking. But when we're casual, like we'll shake our head all the time, we'll do this, we'll tilt. I mean, we do lots of different stuff, and that is so nice in reference or for animated shots because it just adds a lot of life to the character. And on a shot like this, it's a double good because if a character's sitting down, you can do copied head method with, if you have some really nice accents, you can be like, come on, you know, like maybe he goes like that. And you can copy that down through the body and get lots of nice connectivity for free. And if the head's still, the character's gonna feel pretty dead, right? And so for a really energetic dialogue, which that may work for some, you know, shots, but for a really energetic dialogue like this, it'd be nice to see a lot more like torso movement and head movement. And obviously it doesn't have to be crazy because he is sitting down and you don't want him to be like, come on, right? You don't want something crazy like that, but just try to find a nice middle ground of pumping up a little more energy and life within it, which again, you can always exaggerate once you get into animation, but if you can get that in your ref, it will be a lot easier to put into your animation and feel good, right? So, and hi AJ, yes, I'm feeling better, doing better. Thank you for asking. But yeah, Maya, I think that would be my main like notes for you about this. Hopefully that helps. And I know it's always like, when someone says they aren't super, you know, that the idea isn't clear or something that you show. And I think this could work if you clarify it a lot. It just depends, like if you want to do something new in terms of an idea. Like I mentioned, college girl driving away, dad coming up, fixing the relationship between her and her mom before she leaves for college. Like I think that would be very clear from the first frame. This, you could do this idea too, just make it more clear of like the relationship between calling and the phone and not having the sisters together in the same room but still talking about phone, which automatically says distance, right? Yeah, you're welcome. Yeah, I'm excited to see because it'll be fun once you get the idea solidified, getting some fun reference, because will be a fun line to be able to record a reference for of how he gets really passionate. So you can do some really fun posing, even staying in one pose, but really amplifying his feelings and attitudes through his gestures. So yeah, I think it'll be good. Awesome. Okay, cool. So give me 1 second to realize. Gotta reply to a message real quick, but next up will be AJ. Also, AJ, if you want to, you are more than welcome, because since I was looking at your shot and you're in like splines. If you'd like to, you don't have to, but I just know a lot of people find it useful ever since Daniel started doing it. If you want to send me your shot file, I can open it up and show you kind of like how I would go through and polish, or how I'd address certain notes. with your shot, just like if you want to. Again, you don't have to, but if that'd be something you'd be interested in seeing, you're more than welcome to send it to me, and I can go ahead and give you some like few draw-over notes while I wait. And if you send it to me, I can take a look and show you how I would do certain things. That is one way that I learned a lot, is in watching people animate and watching how they. My biggest thing that I had an issue with when I was learning still how to deal with like that awkward bit, that transition from blocking to spline, I was not demonstrative enough with how I cleaned up my spline. And I only learned that by actually watching Daniel, and a lot of he would show like his process for doing it, because I asked him, because he has really naturalistic movement. I was like, can I watch just how you spline and polish a shot once you get out of blocking? And I remember watching him just like moving keys everywhere and like deleting big chunks, and I was like, oh, what is this? And once I learned how to do that for myself, like it made my workflow way faster. But anyways, what I'm trying to say is like it can help a lot sometimes watching people animate. And yeah, so if that's something you want to do, feel free to send me your shot just like on a Google Drive sheet or something. But yeah, if not, no worries either. Just want to give the option. Okay, yeah, no worries. Sounds good. Yeah, if you have time, like go ahead and send it, but if not, like I can just give you notes here. So let me take a look.
I'm sorry. And if it is any consolation, I have heartburn that is radiating to my kneecaps, and I haven't taken a dump since Wednesday morning.
Nice.
I'm sorry. And if it is any consolation, I have heartburn that is radiating to my kneecaps, and I haven't taken a dump since Wednesday morning.
Okay, so I think like this is feeling pretty good. The only thing that I would say like as an overall note for the shot is, which is a usual thing that you have to go and do a lot of when you get into splines, is like break up the body, right? It's pretty good in some places, but there are some places that definitely feels like the whole body's moving as a unit: head, chest, hips. I notice, and then also there's some places that I feel like you could really snap up the timing, because you're kind of in this nice middle ground of like, this shot isn't super cartoony, but it's also not super naturalistic. So you can have this nice middle ground of like pushing and exaggerating certain sections and then like backing off of other sections. So like here, this look up feels a little floaty. Like she's just kind of like, I'm sorry. Like it doesn't feel like there's a clear like boom and then down. So obviously you don't want it like poppy, but this could be way faster. And see this movement like in the chest? Like that's a big movement after the head's already gotten to where it needs to go. So like you have like head and then chest and then I'm sorry, which it really should be a slow, not a slow, it should be like a fast head, neck, chest, and then down into it. I'm pretty sure everything I just said made absolutely zero sense. I don't know, I'm just like, I just realized that my brain is not working. Hold on, let me try to rephrase that. But basically like, what I'm seeing here is everything starts moving at the same time. Right, chest, neck, head. Which I would animate this as she's looking down, she's like looking, and then it's gonna be head comes up first, then the neck, and then the chest is gonna be the last thing. And the chest eases into that too much. Like you could have it be probably half the time of the rotate X coming up and then ease, right? So instead of right now, like if I'm thinking about like your rotate X of like your chest in the graph editor, it's probably something like this, right? But what I think would be nice if you had like something like that. Like it's quick, but then you have like a long like ease into it. Like get there quickly and then just have like a really nice like ease settle into it, and then it's gonna come back down, right? And then it's gonna come like basically same thing but reversed of like down. and then that's going to be a long ease too. But you're getting there sooner is basically what I'm saying, and then you're going to have a nice ease into it. Head's going to be first, neck's going to be 2 frames behind, chest is going to be 2 frames behind the neck, 4 frames behind the head. So doing that will help like break that up and also make it a little bit snappier, because right now it feels mushy, and that's a moment you really want like that. The comedic timing of that is going to be super important, and right now it's not reading as quick as I think it should. Because also the head is almost like, since it's being driven by the chest, I don't think it's actually the head rotating back, but it's the chest rotating back. And that's making the head feel like floaty, and it doesn't feel like you actually get to where you're going before she's already going back down again. So you don't have that nice like pose and then pose, right? So sharpen that up and give her time to breathe and live within that pose.
I'm sorry.
I feel like this could be, I feel like this isn't as pushed as it was last time I saw it. Maybe it's the same. But I would really push this head and neck relationship. Like, I love your drawing, how like her shoulders are like up here, right? And you can barely, obviously it's drawing, it's more simplified, but you can't really see her neck. I would get her head down here if you could. Like, really push this. I think it would be fun. And you can even like translate out those shoulders a bit and X just to be like, I'm sorry. Like, really get it so that way she feels hunched. Like, I think those would be a really fun place to push that pose.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And right now, same thing. Everything's moving as a unit. Which is why, like, I think, like, honestly, I could give you some better... These are small movements because it's not huge pose changes. She's kind of changing within a pose. So it's kind of difficult to, like, draw through, like, what I would drag, what I would overlap. But how I would break up the body. So it'd be easy. I could show you pretty easy if I had your file, and I could, like, show you how it's going, but how I would do it. But basically, same principle here. Everything's moving at the same time. Also, I have an issue with, now that I'm looking at it, she's going down, but there's no effective movement in her hips. Like, this is nice. Obviously, I think this is too pushed in that reference, and I think you want to go, but every one of those references I'm watching, her hips come down. Even in this one, it's not that much, but her hips are coming down in TY, even just a bit. And right now, yours is almost like pixel locked in the same place. You know, so if she's here, she should be about here, or lower even, when she like comes down.
Sorry. I'm sorry.
And same thing, but now the hips need to come down first. The chest is gonna drag, and then the neck, and then the head. The head's gonna be the last thing that gets there. You're gonna reverse a break up what you did for her coming up, right?
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
And same thing here. I feel like it's a little bit too mushy. Like, I would try to get here at 72 almost. I'm gonna draw something super exaggerated, so don't follow this exactly, or do try it out, see what happens, go crazy. But I would try to get her here by 72, and then just like ease into it a little bit. Like, you can just have a little bit of life. But I'm sorry. Like, you really want her to drop into that quick. You don't want, I'm sorry. It almost feels like she's getting there after she says sorry. And this move, what I really liked about you had in your blocking is like it felt very punctuated by sorry. Like, it felt like she was falling and like getting into that pose on that word, which just had a really nice feeling to it. So I would try to aim for that of like,
I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
Yeah, so getting her there a little bit sooner. 72 might be too soon, I'm not sure.
Sorry.
But play around with it and see if you can just get her into that extreme a little bit quicker, and then maybe even overshoot a little bit. Maybe she goes, I'm sorry. Like, maybe she goes down, she goes past that extreme a little bit, and then up. And that can be your kind of subtle for it. I think that might be a nice feeling to it. Make her a little more snappier and still keeping her alive.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And if it is any... I'm sorry.
I would... This is good, of like how you have the hips here. But then the hips start to go straight down. I would really try to lead with them, and then they go straight down, then they go to this way, and then they go back this way, and it just feels kind of messy right now. It just feels like a boop 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 when I'm watching it at speed.
I'm sorry, and if it is, I'm sorry, and if it is,
and then it goes back down here again, so like it kind of goes like boom 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 boom, like in terms of the Z rotation.
I'm sorry.
So lead with these hips, right? Like here, exaggerate it. Go like her hips are already going this way. And then get her chest this way. You know, you're not going to see a ton because of that arm, but ideally like her hips should be like little bean body Aya. Should be like this. And I don't think I would go this far, this extreme, this quick. Like her hip should still be a little bit back here. Also, I'm not drawing her hips anywhere near where they're supposed to be. I'm so sorry, but like I don't have room at the bottom. So hopefully you can get the essence of what I'm doing here. You know, this is when you're going to start to get like that reversal. This is beautiful. Pixar blink. Clean that up. Make sure that you're not getting zombie eyes here. You know, maybe simplify the shape a little bit. Like I don't think I'd have the chest rotated this far yet. Like back off a little bit of this rotation, I think. Because right now, like this motion,
I'm sorry, and if
it's not, I like the idea of it, but it's not reading to me well because it feels like you have some like things fighting each other of, I can't tell what's leading and what's following. It feels like almost like with this stretch on the head, you're wanting the head to be the thing that's leading the action. But then here, it's definitely the hips, right? Those hips are the first thing that coming down, and that head drags through here. But then all of a sudden it switches to that head leading here. So it needs to be like, I think what would help is having those hips feel like they're driving the motion, right? Because right here, they're driving it. And then here's the switch. And I drew this very exaggerated, so don't do this crazy like hips flipping everywhere. She shouldn't be doing the hula, but have these hips pressing up as being what's motivating the head. I think that will help. Because if you wanted to do the head leading, you'd have to change this whole bit, which I really like how you have the hips leading here, but I would just try to continue that through this motion. So I would get rid of this head stretch, and if anything, I would drag the head like this. And then like a little bit down, like rotate X, and then like that head's gonna be the last thing that kind of like goes whoop and like whips up.
I'm sorry, and if it is, sorry.
And then here is like when you'll be back at where you have it. But I think like dragging this head and maybe even like rounding out this torso and X, like rotating it, and then having like it be the last. Hips are gonna get there, torso's gonna get there with like the chest rotation and X. Head's gonna still be dragging.
Sorry.
And then the head's gonna come up, if that makes sense.
Sorry, and if it is any consolation, I have heartburn that is radiating to my kneecaps, and I haven't taken a dump since Wednesday morning. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. And if it is any consolation, I have heartburn that is radiating in my kneecap. I'm sorry. And if it is any consolation, I have. And if it is any. And if it is any consolation.
So here on this movement, I feel like.
And if it is any.
The body's pretty good.
I'm sorry. And if it is any.
Watch out for floaty hips. Here, I would delay them a little bit of like keeping this rotation that you have. Just because right now it feels like they're like floating, but then her body actually, like the cog translate feels good, but it's just like the hips aren't being affected in the same timing as the cog, if that makes sense. Delay these hands. I would still have them like up here. If it is any, on any, that's when the hand should come down.
I'm sorry, and if it is any, and if it is any,
and then like here, like where you have them, like that works. This is good, but like again, same issue. The whole body's getting there with the hands. Always like try to break up the hands from following the body one to one, because then that's what makes an animation feel very pose to pose, because it feels like not pose to pose, but it's stiff, I guess. I don't really know the word to describe it, but it doesn't feel as organic. That's the word I'm looking for. Because everything's moving together, so it feels like pose, in between spline, right? But instead you want it to be, if it is any, like the whole body's going to come down first, and then the hands are going to accent it. So that way that the hands feel motivated by themselves. They don't feel like they're being driven by like the cog, right? So really this is just that was just a really complicated way of saying just delay the hands a bit coming down through here. And also I would delay this chest a little bit. Again, it feels intuitively to me like the hips are leading here. So the chest rotate Y, or not rotate, rotate X.
If it is any,
and then on is, that's when you're gonna get like this chest rotating where you have it. And then the head I would drag too behind that. Too much what I drew, but hopefully you get the idea. Probably be about more like here. And then this is gonna come down. And again, this isn't actually another place where I would can I not delete? Okay, there we go. This is another place where I would really push that head and neck relationship. That I can be so cheated and like picked apart in a good way. Like you can really cheat that head and neck relationship. That's something that like Sean Sexton taught me a lot when I was in class 6. He was like, no more, like I think I have my character hunched, like Aya specifically, because I was working with Aya. I'd think she was hunched, and he was like, no, like I don't want to see the neck. And I was like, is that right? And then I would move it all the way down, and it would feel so much better because it just makes the angle feel a lot better, and it feels a lot more dynamic in the pose. So you could even drop her this far. This might be too far for specifically this pose. I may not go as far as this, but maybe something like this. There we go.
Any consolation, I have consolation. I actually consolation.
I would love if you could get what she's doing in her hands here. I've loved this ever since I saw this reference. She goes with her hand, she does a really interesting transition with it. Watch how she, like, if I frame through, watch, she's got this any consolation. She like flips in and then like arcs into her chest, and it's a really cool Watch, so it goes here. See, they flip. She's here, the hands are almost, well, if you can see me, the hands are almost in the same place, and then they flip around, open, and then, see that, how they come down? This little flip is really interesting. And it literally happens over like 1, 2, 3, 4, like 4 frames. Like, you could even punch that a little bit more in your animation. Like, is any consolation? I have heartburn. Like, that's such a fun movement, and it's really accented. I would love to see that with Aya. You know, so like here, have the back of her hands showing. That's supposed to be a thumb. I'm so sorry. It's so bad. You know, so here have the, again, like, just like same thing. Like, try to match this in the time that she's doing it, because I think honestly the timing works really well. And then have them come from the outside. So you're basically going to get an arc of like whoop, boom, onto the chest. Like onto the chest will be really interesting to watch. Right, so here's going to be same thing. So basically like moving this hand out and up a little bit. Think about making arcs with the tips of the fingers of like this arc, almost like she's like doing a heart, right? If she's here, or she's here, flip over arc. Like feel it out yourself, do that same motion, like watching this reference on the right here. That's a really specific hand gesture that I like. Also, I'm not, watch out for this thumb. This thumb is like, I'm not sure if that changed from last week, but it's like way too far out. Feels broken. And also, I know it's difficult with Aya because she has pretty big hand. I can really die. I have very long fingers, but like try to not have them overlap. That just feels a little bit messy. I really liked when they were here. Like I think you had that in your last. I guess they're a little bit overlapped here. I would really try to get them separated even more if you can. Again, I know it's difficult with Aya, but you can even you can cheat it. Scale down her fingers a little bit and get it so that way it's not fully the same length as Aya's default fingers. You can scale them a little bit and like move them back maybe. Maybe this elbow's a little bit farther out just to kind of support it. But maybe you just get something a little bit more, like, give her room to like make that clear, because right now they just feel kind of messy. Maybe something like that, just to get some space between both the fingers tips.
Consolation, I have heartburn that is radiating. Consolation, I have heartburn that is radiating my kneecap. Consolation, I have heartburn that is radiating.
When I watch this, it feels very messy to me, the hands through this section. She's doing a lot with her body already, right? Oh, you scaled them up? Yeah, I might back off of that a little bit, just so that way you don't have so much overlap. Like, that's fine if you want to do, I have heartburn that is, you know, maybe she's clutching her heart, right? Like, I would be more intentional of either put the hands over top of each other or keep them apart. Like, I have heartburn, because right now this is just, like, messy to me. It doesn't feel super clear. So I would either, like, clean up the fingers and have them, like, together like that, or have them, like, the whole hands together on top of the chest, or have them separated, just to clear that up. Internal silhouette kind of situation.
Wait,
But, here...
I have heartburn that is radiation. I have heartburn that is...
I would keep her hands on her chest. I have heartburn that is radiating, and then only take them out when she has that little pause before radiating through my kneecaps. And like I I would keep the hand, because right now they're kind of coming down, back up again, and it just feels very busy, and she's doing already a very big body movement on this, which I love, and I think it fits really well. So I have heartburn that is radiating in my kneecaps. Like, that will give a bigger punch to this radiating in my kneecaps. And, you know, so
Heartburn that is
again, kind of like this, you know, hands on chest.
Heartburn that is radiating in my knee. Heartburn that is heartburn that is.
And I feel like you can keep her in this pose longer. It feels too rushed to me. How fast she comes up, like you're not giving her enough time to like sell that pose. Right now she's kind of just moving through all the poses in this section. Yeah, cool. Yeah, just go ahead. I would keep them here. Like, I have heartburn that is radiating in my kneecaps. I think that would be a lot more clear too, just overall. But here, right, she's still got her hands. Again, I'm doing these absolutely beautiful hand drawings. One day I'll actually take the time to learn how to properly draw so I don't give people awful critique drawings. Your hips are here, right? Chest is here. So if we take this, I would put this bad boy.
Consolation, I have heartburn that is radiating. Heartburn that is radiating. That is.
What did I draw here? This can go. We don't need this.
Heartburn that is radiating. That is.
I would hold this until like 182-ish. I would literally hold her down. I have heartburn that is, and then on that little inhale, it's very slight, but you can hear it in the audio. She does like a little
radiating. That is radiating in my kneecap.
I have heartburn that is radiating in my kneecaps. Like, I would just really snap that up, because right now I don't feel. It just feels like she's moving through all the poses too fast, and I'm not reading. I don't have enough time to read each one, and it just feels like movement. It feels like a lot, and she's already doing things with her hands, and the body's moving a lot, so you really need to like snap up that timing.
Heartburn that is radiating.
Yeah, so definitely here. Also, this feels very like way too early to me.
Radiating.
I feel like she could go. Radiating in my kneecap. When she says radiating, that's when I feel like she needs to fall into this pose. Right now she goes, I have heartburn that is radiating in my kneecaps, and like it just feels way too early. So I think it will read a lot clearer, and I love how it punches the audio. Like, again, I love this reference here. I keep referring to it.
Heartburn that is radiating in my kneecaps. That is radiating.
Or like even like I can kind of see like what you do here behind Aya. Like it's a little bit late, but it's the same idea of like you really stay up in this pose before she like radiating in my kneecaps. Like she drops down as she's saying it. So I would. Again, let's get rid of this. Just quickly let me trace over this, and then I can move this around to like where I would put it. Something like this, and then
that is radiating.
And then she can literally drop in probably in about this amount of time. Like you can make this super quick, like way quicker than you have it now.
Radiating in my kneecaps, and
maybe even a little bit earlier.
Radiating in my kneecaps, and
I think that's about
radiating
right.
in my kneecaps, and
yeah, so hopefully that makes sense. Like I'm basically just like living within these poses a little bit longer, and then punching up the timing in between for your transitions of like you can probably double if not triple some of your timing of like getting in and out of these poses, these ups and downs, these extremes. I think you can really live within these poses, and that will really punch up the audio and make it fun to watch, like especially fun to watch. So I would just keep that in mind.
Radiating in my kneecaps, and radiating my kneecaps, and I my kneecaps, and
Same thing here. Timing, punch it up. Like, she's got this pose, which I love. You know.
And caps, and
I would literally keep that.
And I
would keep her in that pose. And then this pose here. Whoa. What happened? There we go. This pose here, I would have this transition pose happen when she's saying, and oh yeah, no worries at all. Yeah, and I didn't tell you earlier. Like, I could have told you way earlier, but I just thought literally like 15 minutes before I streamed, I was like, oh, he could show the file and I could try to demo stuff for him. But yeah, again, like, it's not a requirement at all. So if you want to do it like next week, I can do a little demo and like how I clean up spline and stuff, because that was something that was like a mystery to me up until a year ago, literally. Watching other animators spline helped me learn that, because beforehand I just didn't know, like, that's kind of a difficult thing to learn in terms of like, well, how do you polish a spline? How do you clean things up? Like, what do you physically do in Maya, in the graph editor, to break up the body? Like, what's the easy way to do that instead of just setting keys? Like, that was my biggest weakness and still is, of like knowing the graph editor and how to move things around once you get into spline to just make things feel more organic and squishy, and how to time things out differently. So yeah.
I haven't taken it.
Yeah, so you could go into this, and then I think this is another timing thing where then you get into here, into this pose. So just living within these poses a little bit longer for the transitions, I think will help a lot. Just really punch it up.
I haven't taken a dump since Wednesday morning.
Also, something just went really fast. And why did it set itself to 30 frames per second? Don't know why that happened, but...
I'm sorry. And if it is any consolation, I have heartburn that is radiating my kneecaps, and I haven't taken a dump since Wednesday morning.
Yeah, I think that would be my main notes for you, AJ, is just like, do a whole pass through your shot, just breaking up the body of, you know, the quintessential head, chest, hips, 3 bouncing balls. They should all be moving at different times, starting and stopping at different times too. That will just help a lot, like, because I think what you have, you're in a really good spot. Now it's just about breaking up the body, offsetting arms, hand gestures, things like that. Yeah, breaking up the head, making sure you're dragging the head, knowing what's leading and following in certain places, and amping that up too. Timing too, staying in and out of staying in poses a little bit longer and making your transitions a little bit shorter, just to make the timing a bit snappier, and really making an impact with your poses instead of moving through them. Stay for a little bit in your poses, you know. Especially like through here and these. That feels like, again, a little bit early, so she needs to be up a little bit more. So yeah, I think that'd be my main notes for you, just like snap up timing, offset the body. That's kind of my notes. But yeah, it's looking really good. You're at a really good spot because I think you've only been in splines for like 2 weeks, so it's looking good. Yeah, do you have any questions or anything else? It'll be fun to see lip sync in this too once you start getting into that, because she has a lot of really accented dialogue that will be, and I still love that, and with the little head accent. That'll be fun to animate. But yeah, do you have any more questions or anything? Also, having this music's totally chilled me out. I love it. I'm never going to stream without it now. Hopefully it wasn't annoying or too loud or anything. Okay, for the step back action, it's tricky to get the motion timing right. That's why I felt the head leaning. Yeah. Yeah, I get it.
I'm sorry, and if it is...
Yeah, I think, kind of like I mentioned with like these drawings, like really emphasizing those hips leading a bit more, and then dragging the head, not stretching it here, like, you know, keep it normal size. I think that will help a bit. Yeah, I think that will help.
I'm sorry, and if it is...
Because honestly, like, you could even speed that up a little bit more if you wanted to. You could make that transition, you could cheat it and make that transition a little bit faster. I think it's good as it is now, but I definitely think you could go faster with it, and that might help with the timing, because it could help kind of like tighten it up a bit, so that way you can get away with a little bit more, and you won't have as many frames to see like the hips or the head, and then you can just kind of like drag the head into it. So yeah, that would be my suggestion. Try that first, and if it's still not working, let me know, and we can try to problem solve another way to figure out what's going on. But yeah, do you have any other questions or anything else? And I think, like, if AJ, if you don't have any more questions, I think that'll be all today. Cool. Yeah, I think that'll be all today. I ended up not having my third one, and it doesn't look like anyone's posted for feedback, so I think I will call it a day. Yeah, you're welcome, AJ. Happy to help. I'm super excited to see this, like, with the lip sync and everything. It's gonna be fun to see, so it's a fun shot. But yeah, so thank you, AJ, and thank you, Maya, and I will see you guys next week. I think I'm not sure if there's a stream tomorrow. I don't think there is, but keep tuned on the Discord or the Instagram to see any announcements about future streams. So yeah, if that'll be it, then I am going to head off, go get some dinner, and hope everyone has a great weekend. See ya. Bye.